Welcome, everyone. Greatness doesn't begin in stadiums filled with cheers. It starts quietly, on cracked courts, under the hot sun, with dreams that seem too big for the place they were born in. This is the story of a little girl from Compton, California, who turned every no into a reason to rise higher. Her name is Serena Williams, the woman who changed tennis forever. When Serena was born on September 26, 1981, few could imagine the power that tiny girl would bring to the world of sports. She was the youngest of 5 daughters, raised by parents Richard and Oracene Williams. Her father had a vision long before the world did. He believed his daughters could become the best tennis players in history. Even though they came from a place where tennis courts were rare and violence was common. Every morning before sunrise, Richard would wake his daughters. Venus and Serena would grab their rackets, still half asleep, and head to the public courts in Compton. The courts were rough. Sometimes they were cracked. Sometimes people nearby were shouting, or worse, fighting. But that didn't stop them. Because Richard Williams had a dream, and he taught his daughters to believe in it too. He wasn't a professional coach. He had learned tennis by reading books and watching videos. Yet, what he lacked in experience, he made up for with belief. He told Serena, "You're not just playing tennis. You're building your future." Those words stayed in her heart forever. From a young age, Serena showed something special. Her strokes were strong, her focus was deep, and her spirit was fearless. But she was also shy. People didn't always see the fire burning inside her. Her older sister, Venus, was already making headlines. Many believed Venus was the one destined to become a legend. And for a while, Serena lived in her shadow. But shadows are where stars are born. Serena trained harder. She studied every move, every weakness, every detail of her sister's and her opponent's games. She wasn't jealous. She was learning. She wanted to be better, faster, stronger. Her father saw that determination. He once said, "If you think Venus is good, just wait until you see Serena." As teenagers, Venus and Serena moved to Florida to train at a professional academy. It was a huge change. Suddenly, they were surrounded by the best young players in the world. Kids with expensive coaches, fancy gear, and full-time sponsors. But the Williams sisters were different. They weren't there to fit in. They were there to win. Serena's rise was slow at first. People doubted her. Some said she was too emotional. Others said she wasn't disciplined enough. But what they didn't know was that her emotions were her weapon. Every frustration, every insult, every moment of doubt, she turned it into energy, into power. In 1999, when she was just 17 years old, Serena Williams shocked the world. She won the U.S. Open, her very first Grand Slam title, defeating some of the greatest players of that era. She became the first African-American woman to win a Grand Slam since Althea Gibson in 1958. The crowd erupted. The world finally saw what Richard Williams had seen all along: a champion. But that was only the beginning. Over the next 2 decades, Serena Williams would go on to dominate tennis like no one before her. She didn't just win matches. She destroyed limits. With 23 Grand Slam singles titles, she became the most successful player in the Open era, man or woman. Her serve was thunder. Her movement was poetry, and her presence unstoppable. Yet behind the trophies, there were battles the world didn't always see. Injuries that forced her off the court. Moments when critics said she was finished. Times when her body hurt more than she could express. But Serena never allowed pain to define her. In 2003, just after winning Wimbledon, her sister Yetunde Price was tragically killed. It was a dark time for Serena. She stopped playing for a while. She said later that she felt lost, like a part of her had been taken away. But even in grief, She found strength. She returned to the court, not just as a player, but as a warrior. Every match became personal. Every victory, a tribute to her sister's memory. Her comeback wasn't easy. People had moved on. New players had arrived. The media called her past her prime. But then something magical happened. Serena started winning again. And not just winning, dominating. Her power, her precision, her emotion. It was all there, sharper than ever. She won the Australian Open in 2007, 2009, 2010, 2015, and 2017. But the 2017 victory was different, because no one knew her secret. Serena was 8 weeks pregnant when she lifted that trophy. Yes, she won a Grand Slam title while carrying a child. It wasn't just history. It was proof of what the human spirit can do when it refuses to surrender. After giving birth to her daughter Olympia, Serena faced complications that nearly cost her life. Blood clots, surgery, pain. Recovery was long and difficult. But even then, she returned, not just to play, but to inspire. She reached multiple Grand Slam finals after becoming a mother. Though she didn't win those finals, she won something far more important. Respect. From fans, from critics, from history itself. Because Serena's story isn't just about tennis. It's about resilience. It's about believing when the world doubts you. It's about breaking every rule that says what a woman should or should not do. When Serena walked onto the court, she brought more than skill. She brought identity. Her skin color, her strength, her unapologetic attitude. All of it challenged the image of what a tennis player was supposed to look like. She wore beads in her hair, bold colors in her outfits, and power in every swing. Some called it rebellion. Serena called it being herself. And that's one of the greatest lessons her story gives us. You don't have to fit in to succeed. You have to stand out. You have to own your difference and use it as your advantage. Over time, Serena became more than a sports icon. She became a voice. She spoke about equality, about women's rights, about the power of motherhood. She showed the world that you can be fierce and feminine, strong and emotional, powerful and kind, all at once. She built businesses, invested in startups, supported education for underprivileged children, and became a role model for millions around the world. When she spoke, people listened. Because her story wasn't written in comfort, it was written in courage. As her career neared its end, Serena didn't call it a retirement. She called it an evolution. She said, "I'm evolving away from tennis toward other things that are important to me." Those words reflected her mindset. Growth never stops. Whether she was holding a racket or holding her child, she continued to inspire. When she played her final US Open match in 2022, the stadium was electric. The crowd stood, not in sadness, but in admiration. Tears filled the air, but they were tears of gratitude. For the 27 years she gave to the game, for the dreams she made real, for the girls she inspired to pick up a racket and believe they could be anything. Serena's journey teaches us powerful English words, but even more powerful life lessons. Words like perseverance, determination, grace, belief, and evolution. Each of these words lives inside her story. She once said, "I don't like to lose, at anything. Yet I've grown most not from victories, but from setbacks." Think about that. Growth doesn't come when everything is easy. It comes when you fall and get back up again. Serena didn't just win matches. She mastered the art of rising. She faced racism, sexism, and criticism for her body, her emotions, her choices. But she never let the world define her. She defined herself. Every serve, every scream, every tear. It was her saying, "I belong here." And that message echoes far beyond tennis. It's a message for anyone learning English, for anyone chasing a dream, for anyone who feels small. You might not start in the best place. You might face rejection, failure, and fear. But like Serena, if you keep showing up every single day, something extraordinary will happen. Because greatness isn't luck. It's habit. It's patience. It's belief repeated until the world has no choice but to believe it too. Today, when people talk about Serena Williams, they don't just talk about her records. They talk about her influence. She inspired Naomi Osaka, Coco Gauff, and a whole new generation of players to play fearlessly. She opened doors that were once locked. She showed that success doesn't have to look one way. It can look like you. Imagine the young Serena in Compton, swinging at a ball with cracked strings, her father watching with hope. No one then could have known that this little girl would someday make history. But she did. And she did it her way. That's what makes her story so powerful for learning English. Because every sentence carries emotion, every word carries strength, and every moment teaches meaning. It's not just about the language. It's about the life behind the language. Serena once said, "I am who I am because of the sacrifices I've made." And that's the truth behind every great story. The sacrifices no one sees. The hours of work, the pain, the tears, the endless belief that someday it will all be worth it. Today, Serena continues to shine. As a mother, a businesswoman, and a symbol of power. She shows the world that you don't have to stop being strong when you stop competing. Strength lives in you forever. Serena Williams taught us something timeless. Champions aren't born on the court. They're made in the mind. And that, my friend, is the true power of her story.